Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you are watching NewsX World special coverage of the 80th anniversary of the United Nations General Assembly. Iranian President Massoud Pezeshkian is currently addressing the assembly. Let's cut across.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Mr. Secretary General, Madam President, distinguished representatives, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year, and I quote, "Better Together, 80 years and more of peace, development, and human rights," unquote, is in truth a summons to solidarity and to a shared vision of a brighter future. Our religious conviction, as well as the call of the prophets, rests upon the equality of the rights of all human beings. That which renders man more worthy is piety, namely truthfulness, wisdom, purity, and benevolence. The bedrock of all divine religions and of the human conscience is this golden maxim: that which you would not approve for yourself, do not approve for others. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, once said, "Act towards others as you would have them act towards you." The Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, said, "None of you is a true believer unless he desires for others what he desires for himself." The sage Hillel, the elder, expressed the essence of the Torah as such: "That which is hateful unto thee, do not do unto thy fellow." In the traditions of the Orient, likewise, the central teaching is this very principle, and secular schools of ethics grounded in reason and conscience have arrived at the same conclusion. Excellencies, is this the state of our world? Let us behold the past 2 years. The world in these 2 years was witness to genocide in Gaza, was witness to the destruction of homes and repeated violation of sovereignty and territorial integrity in Lebanon, was witness to the devastation of Syria's infrastructure, was witness to assault against the people of Yemen, was witness to the forced starvation of emaciated children in the arms of their mothers, was witness to the assassination of Iran's scientists, was witness to the surreptitious raids infringing upon the sovereignty of nations, violating the territorial integrity of states, and openly targeting leaders of people. And all of this under the full support of the most heavily armed regime in the face of the earth, and under the pretext of self-defense. Would you countenance such things for yourselves? Who is the disturber of the stability of the region and the world? Who is the actual threat against international peace and security? Who is the violator of the golden moral maxim of mankind? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you all bore witness that this past June, my country was subjected to a savage aggression in flagrant contravention of the most elementary principles of international law. The aerial assaults of the Zionist regime and the United States of America against Iran's cities, homes, and infrastructures, precisely at a time when we were treading the path of diplomatic negotiations, constituted a grave betrayal of diplomacy and a subversion of efforts towards the establishment of stability and peace. This brazen act of aggression, in addition to martyring a number of commanders, citizens, children, women, scientists, and intellectual elites of my country, inflicted a grievous blow upon international trust and the very prospect of peace in the region. Should we fail to confront such perilous breaches of international norms, these aberrations shall spread to engulf the world. The assault upon nuclear facilities under safeguards and international supervision, the open attempt to assassinate leaders and duly constituted officials of UN member states, the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press, and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? With this behavior, They have killed at the very least over 35,000 innocent civilians in Gaza. They have deprived them of food, drinking water, medication, and proper health care. Those who have perpetrated such crimes this nation, with a magnanimous spirit and the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press, and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? Those who have perpetrated such crimes must know that Iran, the most ancient continuous civilization upon the face of the earth, has ever stood steadfast against the tempests of history. This nation, with a magnanimous spirit and an eternal will, has time and again demonstrated that it shall never bow before aggressors. And today as well, in the face of the transgressors, it stands upright with reliance upon the power of faith and its national cohesion. In this 12-day defense, the patriotic and valiant people of Iran laid bare before the aggressors the fallacy and self-delusion of their arrogant calculations. The enemies of Iran unwittingly fortified the sacred national unity. The people of Iran, despite the most severe, protracted, and crushing economic sanctions, psychological and media warfare, and persistent efforts to sow discord, at the very instant the first bullet was fired upon their soil, rose in unison in support of their valiant armed forces, and today they continue to honor the blood of their martyrs. Here, in the name of all Iranian people, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all personalities, nations, governments, and international and regional organizations that stood in solidarity with Iran during this war. Ladies and gentlemen, today, after nearly 2 years of genocide, mass starvation, the perpetuation of apartheid within the occupied territories, and aggression against its neighbors, the ludicrous and delusional scheme of a greater Israel is being proclaimed with brazenness by the highest echelons of that regime. The scheme encompasses vast swaths of the region. The map itself lays bare the true intentions of the Zionist regime, intentions that have, of late, been openly endorsed by its criminal prime minister. None in the world is secure from the aggressive machinations of this regime. It is manifest that the Zionist regime and its sponsors no longer even content themselves with normalization through political means. Rather, they impose their presence through naked force and have styled it peace through strength. Yet, this is neither peace nor power. It is nothing but aggression rooted in coercion and bullying. But we envision our powerful Iran alongside powerful neighbors within a strong region with a radiant future. A future in which we stand together against a grand project that imposes genocide, destruction, and instability upon the region. A future in which collective security is assured through genuine mechanisms of defensive cooperation and joint response to threats. A future in which human dignity and cultural diversity are cherished as foundational values. A future in which collective development is realized through joint investment in infrastructure and modern sciences. A future in which energy security and the equitable use of vital resources from the pillars of economic stability. A future in which the environment is safeguarded for posterity. A future in which national sovereignty and the territorial integrity of states are regarded as non-negotiable principles, a future not in pursuit of peace imposed by force, but founded upon strength derived through peace. In such a strong region, slaughter and bloodshed shall find no place. It is for this very reason that my country has, for many years, been among the staunchest advocates of establishing a region free of weapons of mass destruction. Yet those who themselves possess the largest nuclear arsenals and who, in flagrant breach of the NPT, make their weapons even deadlier and more destructive, have for years subjected our people to pressures on the basis of spurious allegations. Last week, 3 European states, having failed through a decade of bad faith and thereafter by supporting military aggression to bring the proud people of Iran to their knees, at the behest of the United States of America, sought by means of pressure, coercion, imposition, and manifest abuse to reinstate against Iran the Security Council resolutions that had already been terminated. In doing so, they set aside good faith. They circumvented legal obligations. They sought to portray Iran's lawful remedial measures taken in response to the United States' withdrawal from the JCPOA and to Europe's breach and utter incapacity as a gross violation. They falsely presented themselves as parties of good standing to the agreement, and they disparaged Iran's sincere efforts as insufficient. All of this was in pursuit of nothing less than the destruction of the very JCPOA, which they themselves had once held as the foremost achievement of multilateral diplomacy. This unlawful measure, which has also met the opposition of certain members of the Security Council, possesses no international legitimacy and will not garner the approbation of the international community. I hereby declare once more before this assembly that Iran has never sought and will never seek to build a nuclear bomb. We do not seek nuclear weapons.
Iran has criticized the U.S. and, in their word, perpetrators, and it has also highlighted its ancient history and eternal will that they will never bow down to their aggressors. So for this discussion, we're joined by Hugh Dugan, and he's a president of Multilateral Accountability Associates. And we have Daniel Wagner, who's the managing director of Multilateral Accountability Associates, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much to both our guests for joining us, and welcome to NewsX World. First, I'd like to go to Daniel. Daniel, we have heard Pezeshkian's speech now, and what's your reaction?
Well, certainly the Iranians have their own frame of reference. I think much of the rest of the world has a different frame of reference about the whole nuclear question with them. I mean, to me, the basic question is, why, if you don't want nuclear weapons, do you have a nuclear program for refining uranium? Why would you, if you say you only want it for medical purposes, then why do you have, all of these capabilities that a nation that is simply using it for medical research would not need? Most people don't believe that that is the case. And clearly, as we have seen with the Israeli attack on the nuclear facilities in Iran and the American assistance in that regard, they certainly don't believe it. And I don't think much of the world believes it.
Right. And with that in mind, now I would like to go back or stay in this topic. Pezeshkian also mentioned the history of Iran and how it will never bow down to its aggressors. Do you think it's directly pointing towards a particular country?
Oh, sure. Well, first and foremost, Israel. But I think any of its neighbors who could present a problem, certainly it's pointed toward America. America is known as the great Satan in Iran. So none of this is new. It's been going on since the 1970s when this regime first took over. And I think we should expect it. Perhaps Iran feels that it is an aggrieved party, but at the end of the day, if they weren't doing what they're doing throughout the region, which is using their proxy forces to stir things up all over the region, whether it's in Lebanon or Yemen or so many other countries, we wouldn't be having this problem. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And in this case, the reaction is prompted by what Iran is doing in these countries and with its nuclear program.
Right. With that, I would also like to welcome Hugh Dugan. He's president of Multilateral Accountability Associates, and now he has joined us. So Hugh, thank you for joining us again. Good to have you with us. Now, we were just discussing about President Pezeshkian's speech. So how does Iran view its ability to maintain its sovereignty and independence in the face of ongoing international challenges, particularly from the US? Hugh, I will come to you for this question. Hugh, if you can hear me, please. So my question is, how does Iran view its ability to maintain sovereignty and independence in the face of ongoing international challenges, particularly from the US?
Iran is an outlier in the international community right now. It is unfortunate that they can speak as if they are a legitimately respectable and fair member of the international community. The fact is, apart from their nuclear question, they have been subsidizing and continue to subsidize heavily Hamas and other opponents of Israel on the ground, in the field, at war yet today. That should not be overlooked. We have this mild impression that there is a ceasefire between Iran and its enemies, but there's been no ceasefire with Hamas, and they continue to fund them. They are reckless in their assumption that the world has unlimited patience for their maldoing. I hope that they will start to feel consequences now when the snapback provisions take effect Saturday. The Security Council has approved, so to speak, more sanctions for Iran's neglect, disregard, aggressive disregard for doing what is right in the world, for abiding by what it says it would do. It can't be believed when it says they agree with something or that they will behave. I don't know if it can agree with itself. The people of Iran don't seem to be heard. It's the oppressive regime above that has cowered them into obeisance. One hopes that that regime will age out eventually. We are in the 21st century. Hello, Iran, get with it. And the people there may just need to do the very brave, bold thing and take to the streets frequently, often, en masse, perhaps suffer the consequences up front of being revolutionaries against a corrupt regime, because currently they can't continue to live on the goodwill of the international community, as has been the case for far too long.
And Hugh, I would like to ask you a follow-up question. Now, Pezeshkian also thanked the countries and people who supported Tehran during this year's Israel-Iran conflict. So it seems like he is referring to maybe his not colleagues, but his friends in international community. So which countries do you think he's referring to when thanking? And how does Iran perceive the role of its international allies in its struggle?
I think the countries are very few, and he did not name them because they don't want to be named in public at the UN as an ally of Iran. Now, they might be supporting them here and there with resources for their own calculated geopolitical reasons. And I can guess who they are. We can all guess, I believe, for certain purposes, it is China. For certain purposes, it is Russia. They have no dyed-in-the-wool Iranian NATO out there that they can say, this is our group and we stand one and all united in the face of threat to each other. There is no such cohort. Even China, nor Russia, has their own respective NATOs in the world. So when Iran speaks very proudly at the podium that we have allies in the world and they are with us and you better watch out, well, why can't you name them?
Right.
and certainly not as many allies as you're trying to pretend there are. It's a clever device to use and statements to validate and justify them and what they're doing as international backing.
Right. With that, I would like to thank both our guests, Daniel Wagner and Hugh Dugan, for joining us from New York. Thank you very much. With this, that is a wrap on our special telecast of the ongoing 80th anniversary of the UNGA. Stay tuned for more news updates.